I'm gonna burp really quick. Actually, it's a great chance to see if I can mute.
That was not muted.
Oh shit! Well, that's embarrassing.
Oh my!
Okay, it's very hit. This microphone is so hit and miss. All right, well, I'll just leave it on just in case.
Nope.
Or I need a second. I wonder if I should just keep that in.
I kind of think so. You can start the episode off with that. That was not muted. Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense.
People will not appreciate that. All right. Not muted. Back on track. All right. Well, I found this on... Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of the Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot,
make yourself a grasshopper,
and enjoy the ride. Hello there, Ryan.
Hello, Rob.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Wonderful, because we just watched the Maternal Capacitance.
Oh, yeah.
For any new listeners out there, I'm Rob. This is my co-host, Ryan, and we are Theoretical Nonsense, the podcast that recaps, reviews, and deep dives facts from the Big Bang Theory, which we call IQ points. I've seen this series multiple times, but this is Ryan's first time watching, so we do our best to do no spoilers. And Ryan has also been told that he's been very similar to Sheldon, so we keep a tally point of how close Ryan is to being a Sheldon. Where are we at?
Right now we are 57 points, me being not like Sheldon, and 55 me being like him.
Okay, it has been neck and neck the entire series.
Yeah.
So we still
technically we ended season 1 with me being Sheldon, and then season 2 has kind of put me more into not Sheldon territory.
It's going to be really interesting in the later episodes when they're very Sheldon-centric.
Yeah,
it's going to get
my
really
points just going straight up. Like, oh god,
you're not even going to have an opportunity to get a point in another category or from another character.
I'm like in the 10,000 points. Clicking.
Well, a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Follow the link in our show notes to find all of our social media. And there's also a link there to a history of all of our IQ points. And through that link, you'll find our Instagram account, our YouTube, and our email. And if you give us a 5-star review, not only will we give you a shout out, but you have the potential to win a $100 gift card from Amazon. To bribe our viewers out there, Ryan and I have decided to conduct a giveaway. So a $100 gift card to any of our 5-star reviewers. We're going to put you all in a hat and draw out a name. So
we got some time on this. We're planning on holding the drawing at the end of the year as a end of season 2 celebration.
So if you're listening to this out of order, or if you're just joining us after catching up, the drawing is going to be December 3rd, 2023.
2023.
So send in your 5-star reviews. But the weird thing about Apple is that we don't know who you are because you put in a screen name. So once you give a 5-star review, shoot us an email what your screen name is. We already got one, Hippogriff08, so you're in the running.
And we appreciate that too, because now we're seeing that the instructions actually make sense, so we think we're on the right track to make this work.
I know. The moment I read the instructions last week, I was like, did that make sense?
Oh, no.
I kind of feel like I'm rambling right now. I'm just saying a bunch of things. But yeah,
and that's why I award myself the gift card.
I am Hippogriff08.
I am Hippogriff.
Well, it's very fitting that it was Hippogriff08 that shot us the first email. I was talking to Ryan offline, and we always use Hippogriff as our example for reviews. So thank you for being a Harry Potter fan, because that's the only name I actually remember.
It sticks out.
Yep. Well, as of now, there's one person in the pool. So send us the email. So for any people that have already given a 5-star review, just shoot us an email of what your screen name is. And for any new reviewers, shoot us an email of what your screen name is. Like I said, only one person in the pool right now. Hippogriff, you got great
pretty
chances.
Good odds.
But then again, it's only July.
It is.
Well, all right. Last bit of housekeeping is my neighbor update. For anybody that hasn't listened before, if you're new to us, if you're interested in true crime, check out the first 30 minutes of episode 22, season 2, episode 4, the Griffin equivalency. I have a very interesting true crime story. But I'm just going to say it now. We probably won't have any updates. I'll probably stop bringing it up until September, because that's when the next big event is happening. The person is on trial.
Down.
Well, not quite. She is at the call of the list. So she's basically going to a hearing where she will let the courts know what she decides, if she wants to plead guilty or if she wants to move forward with trial. And if you're first listening, this is criminal homicide. So dun, dun, you may want to check out that episode. Again, that was our episode 22, which was season 2, episode 4. And I think that's all I got for housekeeping.
Okay. So I've got a story, and I'm bringing this up because I feel like I'm not giving myself a point of being like Sheldon, but I could see Sheldon doing this. The other day, I visited a microbrewery, nanobrewery, really. Just I don't really understand how the laws work in Washington completely, but if you have a brewery on your home residence, but it's outside your house, you can sell the beer, kind of.
They sell it in the garage.
Yeah,
we've been to
a couple one, like that, yeah. Right? Yeah. So it was a different one than the one we've been to, but very, very similar. Very nice setup, great beer, and I'm checking out, and they're allowed to have dogs in there, because if you don't serve food, you don't make food, you can have dogs in. As soon as you get food going, the health inspectors say no more dogs. But one of them was the owner's dog, and he's like, oh, my dog's the black one. And there was another group in there, and they had a white one with spots running around. They were kind of chasing each other, and I was talking to the owner, and he, let me see the course of actions, kind of bent down to pet his dog, and he goes, oh, I see, you're eating the cookie that dropped or something. And the other dog kind of ran behind the counter as soon as he said cookie. And I go, oh, kind of acting like I'm the dog. I go, oh, if you get a cookie, I want a cookie, because the dog was following, sniffing around. And the guy goes, oh, you don't want one of these cookies. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to say. Why doesn't he just give both dogs a cookie? I mean, one dog gets a cookie, the other one gets a cookie. Wasn't till later that night that I'm pretty sure he thought I was asking for a dog treat. I'm like, playing it again and again in my head. So why would he not give that dog a cookie? I'm like, wait a minute. I think he thought I was asking for the cookie. I wasn't asking for the goddamn cookie.
Are you sure?
I would have taken it, but
a crunchy little biscuit in the shape of a dog bone.
Would have gone great, like little meaty treat with a beer.
Yeah, I could definitely see Sheldon being like, cookies? Where?
Cookies? Why did he not want to give me a cookie? Anyways, that was awkward, and it took me probably a good 4 or 5 hours to realize what actually happened, because I'm like, there were 2 dogs. Why is he giving one dog?
Why is he playing favorites?
Yeah, I know it's his dog, but you don't. You're playing host. Give the other dog a cookie.
And the guy's just like, this human's an idiot.
Yeah. And he promptly got my growler that I had chilling in the freezer. And he's like, here you go. Goodbye. I'm like, okay. So that's my story on cookies.
Nice. Oh, but before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our good friend Jake, who sent us a comment on
Jacob.
YouTube. Shout out to Jacob saying thanks for sending us your comments. So send us some comments, and if they're nice, we will shout you out. So shout out to Jacob.
Yay,
And where
Jacob.
he says that banana flavored pudding is the best. Yeah, and he has a little hack. He cuts up chunks of real banana and drops them in at the end.
I'm telling you, chunks of banana, vanilla wafers, and some chocolate chips on top, and booyah!
It's a lot of work for pudding.
But it's not just a pudding, it's a way of life.
Man, we've been plowing through our pudding. Yeah, I went in the other day and all the chocolate was gone. And I was like, babe, where'd all the chocolate go? And she just got all quiet.
What chocolate?
Like,
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was Hunter. Hunter ate it all.
Hunter did it. That's the great thing about having a kid. Just blame him for everything. Who ate that entire steak? It was obviously Hunter.
He said he was hungry and just went for it. I said, no, Hunter,
Who drank
don't do
my
it.
Martini? Hunter, what a savage.
Who lost our life savings in Reno?
Hunter, you have a problem. All right. Well, shall we get started?
Yeah, I think so.
Overall thoughts of this episode?
You know, I didn't like it as much as the previous, but it was a fine episode, straight to the point. It had some parts that did have me kind of giddy, and it had, you know, it was a nice plot. It was a fun episode. It wasn't my favorite, but it was fun.
I think I went into this as such a pessimist. Like I said, I've seen the series multiple times, so going into this episode, I knew what to expect. So I was a bit of a pessimist because I hate Beverly so much. She's definitely my least favorite character in the entire series. We will meet many characters, and she is by far my least favorite. And I think she's supposed to be, like the way that she acts and everything like that. She's supposed to be unlikable.
To kind of
I challenge people,
Leonard,
who likes
right?
Beverly? If you like Beverly, shoot us a message and explain why.
Stand up for her, defend her.
Yeah, but because I had such low expectations of the episode, I watched it and I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it. So set the bar low.
I went in figuring this was complete shit. I'm like, it's not complete shit. It's like shit.
It's partial shit.
It's partial. But yeah.
It's not a wet shit, it's a solid shit.
It's a shit nonetheless, but
Yeah.
it came out smooth and clean.
There it is.
Wow.
That's what I think of you, Beverly Hofstadter.
How many IQ points did you get for this one?
So this was like I had like one or two failed ones, but I had a total of like 4 or 5. I mean, I made a note of it.
I think I had 4, and I don't think I completely failed any of them, but they weren't complete successes.
So I had 5, but a couple of them were failed, so it's more like I had 4 solid ones.
That's fair.
That's what it was.
So this is season 2, episode 15, the Maternal Capacitance. Is that how you pronounce that word?
You know, you're the English teacher. You tell me.
Fuck if I know.
I teach English, not pronunciation.
I just go in and make it up as I go.
You just got to stay one step ahead of your students.
Exactly.
But I've been saying capacitance.
So this aired February 9th, 2009, and unlike the previous episode, I do not know where or when I was. Well, I guess I know when I was, February 9th, but where I was or what I was doing. Last time I remember the hangover that I was experiencing on that, that episode. Director Mark Zendrowski, writers Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and Richard Rosenstock. And so we start off with the apartment, and the gang, well, everybody but Leonard, are playing rock band. And they are singing Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers, right?
Yep.
You know, I asked somebody the other day if they knew the song, and they're like, I've never heard of it.
What?
I'm like,
what?
are you
What?
kidding? And like I sang it and they're like, no. And like I finally found it on my phone and played it and they're like, I don't know what this is.
Wow, what kind of like?
I,
Well,
I
are
can't
they
remember
pretty
who it was,
young,
but I
or are they
swear they
just?
were in their 30s. I'm like,
That's like that's a little shocking.
like,
No judgment, because like you know what? Maybe they listen to like a lot of hip hop and R&B. Maybe they're more into other genres. So
I think at that point they are repressing some memories of that song. Something happened somewhere, they got hit in the head, and that song's gone now.
I gone forever. I drink a lot in my 20s.
Yeah, it's shown itself in just random songs disappearing. I take a shot, one song's gone.
Gone forever.
So they're playing the song, and Penny comes in to kind of hush them, and Raj, who's singing, just screeches to a stop like instantly. And Penny compares them to a cat being run over by a lawnmower. That's how bad they are. I didn't think they were that
Burn.
bad, but
Yeah, they weren't that bad.
totally burned.
She's just being a dick.
Yeah, she's kind of being rude with that. Leonard walks in and he's on the phone and he's saying he's busy, things aren't going to work out. He wants to put this thing off. And everybody's kind of surmising what he could be talking about. And Sheldon starts to analyze and nitpick the way he is holding the phone, how he's talking. And he says he's holding it to his left ear. Ears do not cross hemispheres of the brain. So he's using analytical part of his brain. And we can guess that he's talking about something medical, probably a colonoscopy. And this is where my first IQ point was.
Me too.
You too? You take over. See what you got.
All right. So I did an IQ point on, do people hold the phone to their left ear when having an analytical conversation? Was that pretty much yours too?
Kind of. This was kind of a weird thing to Google. Like, how do you go into this Googling? Like, how do it, like, but so I researched something slightly different, but basically the same thing.
Okay. Well, I found this on many websites. I cross-checked this amongst many sites.
There's a lot out there, yeah.
Yeah. I found this on mentalfloss.com, npr.org, customwriting.org, cnet.com, bustle.com, and scientificamerican.com. So Sheldon is correct that the left hemisphere of the brain is the analytical side. So that's logic, reasoning, writing, planning, etc. And the right hemisphere of the brain is the creative, emotional, artsy, impulsive side. But the question is, do people strategically use their left ear while on the phone while partaking in an analytical call? And the answer is possibly. But maybe not. It's more about right versus left side dominance. So, according to a 2013 study, the side that you automatically use to listen to on a call or on a phone is correlated with the dominant side of your brain, which would make sense because Leonard, being a scientist, must be left side dominant. Thus, he's listening to the caller on the left side. However, another study led by the Henry Ford Medical Center in Detroit concluded that there is a 73% association between hand dominance and the side people hold their cell phones. So if you're left-handed, you'll naturally pull up the phone to your left ear. And if you're right-handed, you'll pull the phone up to your right side. But I found on Fandom that Leonard is right-handed. So theoretically, he should have been listening on the right ear.
The creative side.
Yep. So maybe he's using his left ear because he's left brain dominant, or he subconsciously is using the left side because his mother requires more analytical thinking while talking to her. But this does confirm another piece of science that the right-handed people tend to use their left brain hemisphere more and vice versa. So I don't really have an answer to this, but Sheldon's theory does make sense. I just can't necessarily confirm it. So maybe you were able to dig deeper.
Again, this is depending on how you research it and how you go about actually looking into this information. It gets quite confusing, but I found the exact same. information on different websites, but I was going with Cleveland Clinic, quoting Grace Torkey, who is a doctor, psychologist, I believe. And the issue with this, we have to start off by saying that there's a lot we don't know about the brain and how it works. And different stimuli will influence different parts of the brain at different times. But what we can know is that nothing is ever 100% just one side of the brain. That we are always using the whole brain, that they are corresponding with each other. And maybe the right side's more imaginative and the left side is more analytical, but they are constantly firing neurons or whatever back and forth to make it impossible to say that one side's being used more than the other or predominantly. Uh, different parts, different parts of the brain do different things. Then I had oh yeah, that was something too, that unless you're injured, we can assume that you're going to be using both parts. However, if there was an injury, brain injury of some sort, you might not be using a certain part, but at the same time that could relate into other disabilities, like not being able to speak correctly or not be able to form thoughts completely or whatever it might be. I don't think that's the case with Leonard here. And so I was getting it, the notion that, this is above my head, but basically it's going in one ear, and just because it's on that side of the head, the signals are going to both sides of the brain. One part of the brain may be analyzing that information more than the other, but instantly it's going back and forth. And we also have to understand that there are other parts of the brain working, because as far as the cerebral parts, the left and right hemispheres, there's also like the central brain, the lower brain, or whatever, that are, as far as I understood, decoding the information, and they are sending that information to the hemispheres that then process. So it's quite a bit more complex than what Sheldon's saying. And I would say that he's wrong. That's the
Yeah,
where
because it's not all or nothing with the brain.
Yeah, exactly. That things are a lot more chaotic. And from what he's saying, I might be wrong on what he's saying, but it sounds like if you're talking into this ear, it's going with that part of the brain. If you're talking in the left ear, it's the left. And that's just simply not true. Now, it might be more connected to that, or one part of the brain might be working with information more. But yeah, so confusing. But again, there's a lot we don't know about the brain, and like you said, there's studies that are suggesting other things, and some of it might be coincidence. But yeah, so interesting IQ. I'm not completely sure, but maybe we'll know in a couple of years. I thought it was interesting this episode, and we start out here that Sheldon works on mathematics and like logical, tangible stuff so much, or, theory of matter in the universe and mathematics. And he starts talking about psychology in this. And it's kind of interesting because I'm surprised he's not calling some of this out for being pseudoscience. Like right from the beginning, with this brain hemispheres working in what order, I'm like, that's not mathematical theory. That's not physics. That's more psychiatry. And so I was kind of, I don't know, it kind of seemed out of character a little bit for me that he was going with it.
I guess like I didn't think that I feel like Sheldon likes to like read a lot of articles and like stay up to date with a lot of things. So
Yeah.
even though he may not like appreciate that field of science, I could definitely see him knowing it.
And it may be, even one of the articles I read very quickly connected this notion that if you are an artist, you use the right part of your brain more. If you are a accountant, you use the left part, right? That depending on your personality, it impacts what part of the brain you use more. That's kind of like going into zodiac signs and what's that? Astrology. There we go. I almost said
Yeah.
astrology. And we already know that Sheldon hates astrology,
I
right?
believe the word he used was hokum at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So, maybe it's just that I'm relating that we use that left hemisphere, right hemisphere to divide people into creative, not creative, or analytical, not analytical. And so I was kind of like, Sheldon, that's kind of getting into what you don't like there. But again, maybe latest articles and latest studies had something to say too.
You know what? He was probably reading Science Weekly or Physics Weekly, and there was probably just something on an article on the side where he just kind of read it.
But I also have to say that, this comes up later too, that with this article and some of the other ones, the information I was finding was not within that year, 2009. That when was the article you read published? Like what I was reading was like 2013, 2014 stuff.
I don't recall off the top of my head, but like every time I do an IQ point, I try to do the most recent one as possible.
Yeah.
I try to hit within 5 years.
And so I'm curious what was stated and what was believed back there, because it was still, that's mine 4 or 5 years removed. You can learn a lot about a brain in 4 or 5 years.
I learned a lot about myself in 6 months. So,
well, as we learn, Leonard will learn a lot about his penis in 1 year.
Oh, I have an IQ point on that too.
Okay, so that's IQ point 1. Good start. So he gets off the phone, and I already guessed what was going on. His mom's coming to town. And probably because I knew the title of that episode already, the maternal
Yep.
mother. So I'm like, he's talking to his mom saying, can we put this off? And then Howard looks at Sheldon and says, you were right.
I like that.
And then we have the intro. And we go into the episode with the hallway. Penny is carrying up her laundry and sees a woman standing at the elevator looking at it because it's got tape all over it. And Penny, trying to be helpful, says it's out of order. The woman explains, I can see that, but I'm pondering the implications. And she basically says that she's noticed that there's dust on the sign, which makes her think that the residents of the building, and she looks at the mailboxes, said there's 20 to 30 of them, are either very passive or they have a shared delusion of functionality.
So I do have something here.
Ooh.
There's a continuity error.
What's the error?
So the tape around the elevator changed. In the previous episode, the week before, the tape was red, and now it's yellow. I noticed that, like, as I was watching it, I was watching the tape, I was like, holy crap, in the last episode, it was red, and now it's yellow.
Do you think
so? They changed it, so now all of a sudden, how is there dust on them? Granted, I mean, you can collect dust in like a week, but not that noticeable.
I figured that there was a sign up saying out of order, and then there was tape, do not cross.
Yeah, but the tape changed, though.
Yeah, so the landlord could have come in and changed the tape, but why would he have done that? Or she have done that?
Yeah. Why would you change it if it's just sitting there? So it's tape watch. We're going to keep an eye on what color the tape is.
Should take a pull on that, too. Are you sure it was the first floor? Because they could have yellow...
Oh, I did check that, yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Good. Interesting. What does it all mean?
I remember specifically because it was we watched the financial permeability, and it was when we were talking about berets. Because they were at the mailbox, and Penny forgot her package, and I looked at the red tape at the tape.
This is my beret that I ordered a few months ago, right?
Yeah, they were on the ground floor.
You're right. I remember that. I don't remember the color of the tape, but I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah. There it is.
Okay, so continuity error. There's no real reason because tape stays up for at least a couple months, not a week.
Yeah.
So.
But then it's the dust and everything on it too. It's it takes time for it to collect, unless we're to believe a month has passed since that.
Yeah, I don't buy that. Although I have to say that I was watching Wings the other morning. That I got up kind of early. I had nothing else to do, so I put on Wings. It's kind of like that and Frasier are my go-to shows. I remember watching Wings every time I was sick. That was my. Some people had Wheel of Fortune or Price is Right. I had Wings. That was my favorite. And I was so confused because on, I believe, Paramount Plus, I was watching an episode and it ends with Joe having a girl say, I have a kid and it might be yours. And then it cut off and it went forward to a completely different episode to a different time. They just didn't have like 3 episodes on the season. And so I had to look it up on Amazon, and Amazon has the show too. And it was like episode 18 and 19 were the to be continued part. And they have a couple episodes cut out too. And I'm like, how are we supposed to keep continuity and time management if you're cutting out episodes?
That's always been like, I don't know the deal with all these like streaming services and everything like that, but like I've noticed that with like Amazon Prime too, where it's like they'll just kind of like have random episodes as like the free episodes, where it's like, is this like some sort of weird strategy for us to pay for episodes?
Yeah.
Like,
we have like every third Prime number. And so you can watch episode 3, episode 7, episode 17. Like, why?
Yeah, because I was trying to watch Orphan Black. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh yeah, I just watched it last year.
Oh yeah, so I've watched the first 3 seasons, but my sister-in-law recommended it to my wife, so we tried to watch it, but then I was on Amazon Prime, and it's like just random episodes for free, and not even the first episode. So it's like, well, if you want to watch it for free, we have to start episode 4.
I actually had to buy like the last couple seasons on DVD last Black Friday. And so I've watched them, and I can hand them off to you, and you can watch them now too. Because the same thing happened. I'm like, I can't watch this shit.
Well, if Amazon's listening, we're not doing that.
Wink, wink. Who shares? No, we just watch the random episodes, of course.
No. Of course my residence is in Washington still. Of course.
I am American, I promise. Okay, so she introduces herself and, well, Penny guesses. You must be Leonard's mom, Beverly Hofstetter.
Guest star alert.
Guest star alert.
Berensky. Yep.
And I'm curious, did you pick up, what did you know her from? Because she's been in a lot. She's been in a
she has a very rich resume. And, like, honestly, like, this is one of those things, like, I can't pinpoint where, like, the origin of me seeing her was. But I do remember back in 2009 seeing her, and I knew who she was. Like, I've seen her. I'm, like, looking back at her IMDb, I'm guessing, like, she was active in the 90s when I was watching a ton of TV. It could have been Cruel Intentions. It could have been Sybil, Bulworth. She did an episode of Frasier and Third Rock from the Sun. So it's like, it could have been any of these because I watched them all.
Definitely remember her in Frasier. Remember in Cruel Intentions. I believe she played, what's her name? Sarah Michelle Gellar makes out with her.
I might have to rewatch that.
That's the whole point of the movie. Did you watch the goddamn movie, Rob?
Dude, this was years ago.
No, you don't forget something like that.
I've seen some crazy shit in the last decade. Okay, the last 2 decades.
I've been drinking a lot. Songs are popping out of my head. Movies.
Yeah. What's a red hot chili pepper?
Okay, I'm gonna look this up because I should know her name and. So
I was like,
Selma Blair. I believe she plays Selma Blair's mother.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that. But I also know her from Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. She ends up hooking up and getting some Grinch action.
Oh, some Grinchin.
Grinchin. Action. Now I want that
Merry
to be
Christmas
removed
to
from my
us
brain.
all.
And it's gone. But yeah.
But most recently, she has been in The Good Wife, 156th episode, which is a little meta because in future episode, Raj drops that a lot that he likes The Good Wife.
Oh, I like that. It's kind of like, I still don't know what's going on, but Blossom.
Yep.
is going to come in, and they've talked about liking Blossom.
Yep. Blossom's
So
coming in at some point.
I appreciate some self-reflective meta jokes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she mentions Penny is a handshaker because Penny puts her hand out, and they start walking upstairs, and she says, "Oh, is this time to exchange pleasantries
Well, I actually did an IQ point before that.
on handshaking?"
Kind of.
Kind of
Because I was like, in my mind, I was like, based off her reaction, I was thinking, what else is there?
fist bumping,
But
Harry Mandel style.
come on, would she really? Would she really fist bump?
I don't
Would
think
she
she
really think
would.
that, I guess for me, it was the whole concept of like Beverly as a academic, as a professional, you have met so many people in your lifetime. Of course, people handshake. Of course, people are going to handshake with you. Why are
Yeah.
you so confused with that? Like, oh, you're a handshaker. Okay.
Or
It's
in the
like,
very least, it could click, but she would make a mental note of it. But speaking it out loud and just looking at the hand, like she would.
does she do that with every colleague that she meets? Like, all of a sudden, there's a new professor. Is she going to be like, oh, you're a handshaker? Hate to break this to you, but like, I'm sure like 90% of the world is a handshaker.
If I didn't have to do it, I probably wouldn't be a handshaker.
I'm still a handshaker. It's
And
still just a thing. I don't like based off like well, I'll get into it, but based off like research and everything like that and how culturally like huge it is.
it's
People
confusing and it's
it's
stressful.
it's never going to go away. Even with COVID and everything, it's not going away.
You got to make sure that you're at the right position. You have to assert the right amount of force. And then I heard somebody said it's all about the thumb strength. Like it doesn't matter about these fingers, you got to go with the thumb strength. And so you're processing all these same things. And if they squeeze before you squeeze and you end up like that, well, that just looks weird.
That's just awkward too.
It's like asking for a dog cookie.
Well, this brought me down the spiral as I was looking into like the custom handshakes as a customary introductory thing, and it brought me down to like the whole like math problem explanations
Uh-huh.
of it. I'll explain this very briefly, but it's scoured all over the internet. You may know this, but like it was hundreds of like these hits of math problems of handshakes. So they're all in the fashion of 7 people shake hands with each other. How many handshakes exchanged? Do you want to try to solve it, or should I just
So everybody shakes hands with everybody else. So
Yes.
would that be 7 squared, like 49?
No.
No, more.
That's too many.
That's too many. Because
So the first guy shakes hands with 6 other people. The next guy has already shaken the first one's hand, so he only has 5 other hands, and so on. So it's 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, 21 handshakes.
squared would be counting the same handshakes and themselves. I get
Yeah. But that was where the internet spiraled me towards. Like for the first while, I was like, why can't I find other information on
it. Rob,
handshakes?
God damn it! I'm an English teacher, not a math teacher. What do you expect from me?
Well, anyways, I was looking into other greetings besides a handshake, and what do you think Bev prefers? So
Shit.
I think I already know. I think she's more of like a nod kind of thing, like hello, nod.
I could see that. I don't think she's a bower. If she doesn't do handshakes, she's not going to do the kisses.
Nope.
So
But that's another one.
they were doing that on Wings. I noticed it. I'm like, I don't think I've ever met somebody who can pull that off, like just bending in and kissing something. Mwah, mwah, like it,
Yeah, no, I could
can't
never
pull it
pull
off.
that
People
off.
would freak out.
I'm not European enough
Yeah.
to do that. But on luxbeatmag.com, handshaking is global and not going anywhere. No matter what germs are out there, it's too customary to ever truly go away. And I've experienced that. Like in my line of business, I meet many people. I go to different departments and everything like that. I meet a lot of like sales reps and everything. Still handshaking. It's still there.
You know, I have to say that on cruise ships, and cruise ships get a hard time for having, like, basically, if a virus gets on board, it turns into. Do you ever read The Mask of the Red Death?
No.
Edgar Allan Poe, where the Red Death is spreading and everybody's dying, and this famous king like builds a castle, and it goes into depth about how each room is a different color, and everybody gets in, and somehow it's going to be like a masquerade and a party for all these rich people, but Death himself gets in and kills everybody. And so it's kind of this analogy for even if you try to bundle yourself up, you're still going to die. In fact, even more so, because if you're in a closed, refined area on a cruise ship and a virus gets on, everybody's fucked. And so to help prevent that, cruise ships have put in hand sanitizers, like at every corner of the ship. They have put in new sinks, like in the dining room, so you have to literally wash your hands as you're walking in to eat. They have songs playing nonstop. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. And the crew has been trained to do fist bumps to help prevent the spread of bacteria. So I'm thinking if we worked, we could get handshakes to go away.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah, honestly, because I never really know like how firm it needs to be. Like with when I shake hands with other men, you just kind of go firm. You kind of just go for it. You don't try to break their hand, but you can go for it and it's all good. But then I've always been confused. I should actually ask a woman this. Please, any women out there, please let us know. I'm really curious. How firm of a handshake should I give you? Because I remember when I was like pretty young, like in my early 20s, like I was taught, like when I was going on all these interviews, I was reading up on like how to like introduce yourself, how to like sell yourself, like at like a job interview. So I was practicing the firm handshake. And I remember I was like, okay, a firm handshake shows respect to everybody. So I remember I met not at a job interview. I was like just at like some gathering, and I met some girl, and I shook her hand, and she was like, "Whoa, what the fuck are you doing? Are you trying to break my hand?"
Pop.
I was like, I thought I was respecting you.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. And I never saw her again.
Now, why can't that memory be removed with drinking? Why does it have to be Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yep, still remember that one.
That one's never good.
So if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. Granted, I have no idea who you are. But...
I'm always scared that, like, if I'm too firm, they're going to be like, man, he was really overcompensating for something.
Yeah.
And then
but you don't want the dead fish, as they call it.
The dead fish, and then they think other things about you, and it's always this, like, it's a lot of stress, man.
Yeah. Well, anyways, like you said, there's also fist bumps, and apparently some places do pats on the back. Then you mentioned hugs and kisses, which probably isn't that big of a thing anymore, maybe. And then like all the other stuff like that COVID brought, the elbow bumps, foot bumps. And then there's the non-touching greetings, which is a little nod, like I said, or a bow. I think Beverly is more of a nodder.
I think so too. That's what I'd go with.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say. Let me cut this out. I'm thinking of something. Oh, the hitting on the back. I saw some comedian talk about the like slapping on the back and stuff, and I forget who this was, but it was great. The notion that men do it because it shows we appreciate each other, but it's still aggressive. And it's like, I love you, man.
More masculine,
but I can hit you.
My new boss does that,
right? And
honestly, like because like I've worked with him in the past, but like never this close because I have a new boss now. Mm-hmm. So like we've been getting a little closer, and he's that type that pats on the back, and honestly, I like it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Like, thank you. I am doing a good job.
It's an episode of Friends where Chandler's boss pats everybody on the butt.
Yes.
Like, good job. Good job. Good job.
And everyone's jealous of Chandler. And he's like, Don't be. I'm being violated.
I don't want it.
But at the very end, he wants it.
Of course he does. Poor Chandler. Okay, so anything more on introductions?
That's all I got.
That's all I got. Okay, so we are. Oh, Penny asks what Leonard was like when he was little, and his mom says, "Be more specific. He's always been little." And she
Ugh.
goes, "Okay, 5 or 6. Be more specific." She says, "Okay, 5."
That
And
drives
this-
me crazy. Like, it's like, Beverly, you know what she's saying.
You know exactly what
Come
she's
on.
talking about.
You're purposely being difficult.
Yeah.
It's like the people who are like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good. No, you're doing well.
Or
You're
the
those people.
"Can I go to the bathroom?" May you go to the bathroom?
Of course you can go to the bathroom, but may you?
You know what? I'm going to the bathroom right now, so I'm so glad you took extra time to... Now you have a puddle to clean up.
And I'll get arrested for public urination. Whatever.
It's not the first time.
Self shout out. Listen to our previous episode where we did an IQ point on public urination.
And so this is where Beverly brings up Freud's phallic state and says that even though it's an outmoded theory, Leonard spent the majority of his 5th year, being 5 years old, grasping his penis. That makes sense. Although I think it's interesting, and the same thing with Fraser, that Fraser's favorite psychiatrist is Freud, and Beverly mentions too that he's outmoded, like he's considered outdated. And
yeah, I did some information on like an IQ point on this as well, the psychosexual stages of human development and why it's criticized and why Freud is being criticized.
Ooh.
Did you do that too?
I did not.
Oh,
No.
All right then. Well, here we go. So this is what Beverly was talking about. Freud's 5 psychosexual stages of human development and why it's criticized. I found this on verywellmind.com and simplypsychology.org. This is Sigmund Freud, who is known in the psychology world as pretty much the father of psychology. So that's probably why Fraser really likes him, because he pretty much, even though he's outdated, a lot of the stuff that doesn't apply now. It's that he really did do a lot to build the framework of psychology. And modern psychology has taken that and just kind of expanded and kind of just cut out the fat and just focus on the things that are like real and actually apply to us.
Mm-hmm.
But Freud believed that the adult personality developed through a series of childhood stages in which the pleasure-seeking energies of the id become focused on certain erogenous areas. And an erogenous zone is characterized as an area of the body that is particularly sensitive to stimulation. Each stage of development is marked by conflicts that can help build growth or stifle development, depending upon how they are resolved. If these psychosexual stages are completed successfully, a healthy personality is the result. So the 5 stages are oral, anal, phallic, which is what Beverly is talking about at age 5. Then the 4th stage is latent, and then the last one is genital. So what are these? So oral, the erogenous zone is the mouth. So this is from birth to year 1. This is when you're a baby and you're putting everything into your mouth, which I am part of that right now with Hunter. He's literally putting anything that he can grab, he's putting it into his mouth.
Oh, I thought you just meant like you're still putting things in your mouth, like, oh, wow.
Well, like alcohol and forgetting songs.
Yeah,
I do that too. What's a song? What's a bridge, and why are you under it?
What are we doing here?
But babies do that because they do find pleasure in it, and it's how they develop their surroundings. But my son is doing that with everything because that's how he can develop like textures and like knowing what's around the world and everything like that. So that's the first stage. The second stage is the anal stage, and the erogenous zone is the bowel and the bladder. So from ages 1 to 3, controlling the bladder and bowel movements. You might be asking, where's the pleasure in this? And that's because Freud believed in positive reinforcement during potty training. Thus, children that are rewarded for learning to control this will have a better outcome. He does go on to say that parents that offer negative outcomes for not being potty trained can have negative impacts on personality development. And now we're at stage 3, where Leonard is. Well, where Beverly was saying Leonard was when he was.
He might still be there. We haven't seen that part of Leonard, but
how much have you developed, Leonard?
Why is your hand down your pants, Leonard?
Well, the erogenous zone in this is the genitals. So from ages 3 to 6, this is where children begin to differentiate between genders, become more aware of their own bodies, and develop a fascination with their genitals, as well as with those of the opposite sex. And I concur. This is where I started noticing girls.
What age was this?
3 to 6. So I remember having a crush on a girl in kindergarten. So I noticed it. I can't say how often I was grabbing my penis, but because I honestly don't remember. But I remember like noticing it.
I remember preschool, pre-preschool. The playing doctor stages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where that happens.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to stage 4, latent. The erogenous zone here is sexual feelings are inactive, which I feel is a little bit of a cop-out in this whole stages thing, but during this stage, children's sexual impulses become suppressed. The libido is dormant, and no further psychosexual development takes place. So children focus on developing social and intellectual skills, including school, friendships, and hobbies, instead of on sexual or romantic interests. Freud thought most sexual impulses are repressed during the latent stage, and sexual energy can be sublimated towards schoolwork, hobbies, and friendships.
Nah, I think it's always there.
I had crushes on girls every year.
Repressed, maybe, but it's always there.
It's there.
Yeah. I'm thinking about genitals left and right.
Yeah, it just seems like a little bit of a cop-out on this one, where it's like, I know you're saying that the development comes from other rewards, but at the same time, it's like, well, I feel like you're kind of just making up a stage just because nothing's happening right here.
I'd say more so that it seems like maybe society tells them they're not supposed to be thinking about it, and so they hide it because, society's like, oh, you're too young to think about stuff like that. You're too young to be in love. You're too young to have sex. Think about school and sports, and so that's what they cater towards.
I can definitely say I did not go through that in my stage. I definitely watched a lot of R-rated movies. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
But come on, late 80s and early 90s action movies that are R-rated, there are boobies all over the place, and I was loving it.
The guns are the phallic state, right? all Arnold Schwarzenegger's guns and Stallone's, and
that's definitely a metaphor for a penis. Come on.
Have you ever seen Alien?
Or Predator?
Predator. The Terminator's head? Very bulbous. Very bulbous.
Well, the 5th and final stage of this is the genital stage. And the erogenous zone is the maturing sexual interest. And this lasts from puberty until death.
Uh-oh.
Quite the long stage. Apparently, we're still in it. But during the final stage of psychosexual development, the individual develops a strong sexual interest in the opposite sex. And this stage begins during puberty, but lasts through the rest of a person's life. So on that note, we can criticize Freud's theory now.
Yeah, you suck, Freud!
Well, honestly, kind of. But then again, let's dial it back a little bit and remember that before we shit all over his theory, that this was in the 1800s. So this was long ago, before all
Yeah.
these developments and before social acceptance of a lot of things. So his theory only focuses on straight males. And that's like one of the key pieces of why this is outdated and inaccurate. His theories are also difficult to test scientifically. The libido is impossible to measure, therefore, it can't be tested. Also, how can we possibly know that current behavior was caused specifically by childhood experiences? Freud's theory is based on case studies and not empirical research. Freud based his theory on recollections of his adult patients, not on actual observations and study of children.
Hmm.
So, on that note, it's like he didn't even consider female development or homosexual. He didn't even think about it. It was all about the male.
Uh-huh.
The whole like penis envy thing. So it's like, so that's why it's like, well, it kind of makes sense in a framework from a specific set of people.
Where he tried his best, but culture itself was holding him back.
Yep.
Society. I gotcha.
But if you are curious on a more modern and accurate theory of stages of development, there is what's the Erickson psychosocial state theory. So both stress the importance of social experiences and recognize the role that childhood plays in shaping adult personality. Unlike Freud's psychosexual approach, Erickson's psychosocial stage theory took a more expansive view of development, encompassing childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. So it's safe to say that the Erickson theory took the Freud theory and just kind of fine tuned it.
Hmm.
And that's what I got on Freud.
Interesting. Penny mentions that she's an actress, and Beverly asks why. And this kind of moves into my IQ point. I didn't do Freud, but I did an IQ point on what Beverly says next. She says that those in performing arts suffer from external locus of identity. And I had to look into this because when I thought locust, I thought like I thought she was saying locust like the bug, and that's not what she was saying. When she says locust, she means the Latin version of location, or yeah, location, place. And the notion here is when she says locus of identity, the question comes up: how do we define ourselves? Do we define ourselves based upon what we can do, or based on what other people tell us we are or should be? And so if you have an internal locus of identity, that's right, yeah, you believe you control your life, that how you identify yourself comes from inside, and then you exert it on everybody else, saying that I'm awesome, I'm going to be awesome, I'm going to go out there and do great things today. If you have an external locus of identity, what you hear, what you are exposed to, tells you what you are and should be. And so she mentions that her unmet childhood needs have influenced her career path, becoming a actress, actor, and somebody in the performing arts field. There we go. And my issue with this is I could not find anything to specifically say that having father issues or having parental neglect would influence her becoming an actor. That
Or is it because she wasn't accepted by her father? Because we go into later that her father wanted a son. So because she was unaccepted by that she's looking for a new identity.
you know that could be, we're still making some assumptions there that she's looking for a new identity. I took it to the point that the external factor is her dad saying you're not who I want, or you're not enough for me, so she's trying to impress him. But that wouldn't necessarily mean a career as an actor. however, like you said, picking up a new identity, but they don't necessarily say that. So I was a little confused by that, and I'm not sure it made complete sense. And it still comes down to some assumption, but I guess it could make sense. There's some logic behind taking on different personas, but then again, she doesn't necessarily play guys. Although we do see her later on wearing a very, very baggy outfit, sweatshirt, and a cap because she wants to be the baseball player slugger that her dad calls
Yep,
her.
she wants to be Slugger again.
Yeah. So some interesting stuff there, but I still feel like some of this is kind of what Sheldon would say is pseudoscience, or what did he call it? Hookum?
Hokum.
Hokum. And Beverly asks Penny to talk about it. And the next scene, it cuts forward to Penny is crying, explaining that her dad wanted a boy. And they get to the apartment, and the mom says, well, Penny says, here's your son, walks away. And as the mom walks in, Beverly walks in, she tells Leonard, you need to figure out what cologne her dad wore if you want to have intercourse with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of, I don't know, because it's coming from the mom, but it's also really manipulative. Like, I don't, that's something a pickup artist would bring up, right?
Yeah, that's something that Howard would do.
That's a Howard move, exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so they're at the apartment, and Leonard brings his mom out some tea, and she pulls a Sheldon here saying, did you do this? Did you do that? He's like, yes, 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 yes. Did you use sugar and raw sugar? He's like, yes.
That's what I made. I made the Beverly tea.
The Beverly, is it as good as it's supposed to be?
Well, I saved it, so it's been in my warming cup this entire time. I made it before we got started, so hopefully, if this cup is worth anything, it should still be warm.
Or, in the very least, you could take it like she's taking it in the show, cold.
Well, she sends it back.
Yeah, she sends it back. It's cold.
All right, so her request was oolong, loose leaf, steep 3 minutes, 2% milk, warmed separately, and 1 teaspoon of raw sugar. So that's what I did, with the exception of loose leaf, because I couldn't find it. And let's face it, I didn't want an entire jar of loose leaf.
Yeah, if you're going to buy loose leaf, you're going to have to...
Yep. Ooh, still warm.
Oh,
all right, here we go.
Okay, that's half the battle.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
I definitely my favorite tea. I don't drink a lot of tea, but I really like I like Earl Grey with milk and honey.
Yeah, that's it's what my grandmother raised me on.
Honestly, it could use okay. Full disclaimer, I didn't measure the amount of sugar because I have the packets.
Well, that doesn't count then.
Garbage.
I'm throw that
such
away.
An idiot. But it looked like it was about a teaspoon, but honestly, it could have been a little less. So this could be a little sweeter, but it's all right.
I like Earl Grey a lot, but I like a good black tea as well.
Earl is black.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's special about it? It's got some other stuff mixed into Earl, right?
That I don't know. I just remember I remember at one of the restaurants that I worked at, we did a tea tasting just so we all knew what like all the teas were. And my favorite was the Earl Grey, so that's why I always just kept buying it.
Earl Grey has some sort of spice in it. I don't know what it is exactly, but it gives it a really distinct... it's going to sound weird, but as a kid, I always imagined it's what Earl would taste like himself.
The Earl himself. Well, on a quick Google search, traditionally, it's a simple blend of black tea and oil of bergamot.
Ah, bergamot. That's right. That's a very masculine scent.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know. They usually put it like in bags and stuff for guys or wallets. I don't know.
Okay.
It's some sort of essential oil that I've seen quite a lot, and it's like in clones. They're always like it's bergamot. It's bergamot.
Oh, it's a citrus fruit native to southern Italy, And it kind of looks like a lime, except it's a little bit more pruny looking. It's a hybrid of lemon and bitter orange. Extracts have been used as an aromatic ingredient in food, tea, snus, perfumes, and cosmetics.
Some people experience heartburn, dizziness, and muscle cramps from it. That's not good. But yeah, pay attention to colognes and soaps because oftentimes the masculine ones get bergamot put into them, and I don't know why that is exactly, but I recognize the name, and that makes sense why it's an Earl Grey. So it's a black tea, but it's got this. It's weird because it doesn't taste like citrus. It doesn't taste like orange or lime.
I'm actually enjoying this tea now.
It's actually, now that I've talked about it, it's really good.
Now that I've had it like halfway into it in my cold basement right now, it's like,
You're,
this is kind of nice.
you're invested. Okay, so where are we at? Oh,
All right, so
Sheldon.
he fails at making the tea.
Yeah, and fails at the tea, and Shelley says he's experienced the same problems and blames it on Leonard's sex drive, lack of focus on Leonard's sex drive. And Beverly doesn't know where he got it. The only time her and his father had sex was to reproduce. Except for what, like one night on their wedding night for show or something. So Sheldon says that's a good arrangement. So I'm really curious because from what, I saw that one commercial where he makes out with a girl. His sex drive's going to kick in. I don't know to what point, but I saw him kissing a girl in a commercial during a baseball game.
You remember that?
Let me rephrase that. I was watching a baseball game and I saw a commercial where he kissed a girl. I haven't drunk it out of my memory yet, Rob. It's going.
Other songs are making their way out.
Yeah. It's a cue of things going out of my head. And then Sheldon says he wants to read more about her sex life because it's been written down. And that part made me laugh. I'd like to read more about your sex life. And Leonard says right now, or says she could show him the PowerPoint on the whole thing, but she's neglected.
It's on her other computer.
Her other laptop, yeah. And he asks what's new, and she goes, I've been experiencing menopause symptoms. He's like, okay. And she's like, and your Uncle Floyd died. Like, what happened? His heart stopped.
And now she has to urinate.
And now I have to urinate. And Sheldon starts talking to him about his childhood and that he likes her. And Leonard says, yeah, the only thing I liked about my childhood was my Uncle Floyd.
I like this, that Sheldon envies Leonard in his childhood because Leonard's mom is brilliant, analytical, insightful, and I'm betting she never hit you with a Bible because you wouldn't eat your Brussels sprouts.
I made a note of that line too. And in fact, it's even better because I've been watching Yellow Jackets. And have you watched any of Yellow Jackets?
Oh, they just completed season 2, and that's why I was going to do the trial and watch it. We just haven't gotten around to it, but I remember marking my calendar.
That's I'm on the trial and I'm like halfway through season 2 right now. There's a part where a girl's like freaking out and she might be possessed or something, and now the girl runs up with a Bible and says, "Shut up!" like throws at her.
I look forward to seeing that.
So that's what I was thinking of when his mom hit him for not eating his Brussels sprouts. Shit, what was I saying? Bergamot, lie.
I think now we're at the cafe.
Oh, we are at the cafe, the cafeteria. We got some stories in here. Howard brings up Leonard's brother and sister, and I think this is the first time we hear about Leonard's brother and sister. I didn't realize that he had a brother and sister.
Yep, we learned that he has a brother and sister.
And so his mother, Beverly, brings up that they are the top of their fields, and he brings up his brother Michael and says that he's a tenured law professor at Harvard. And I would argue that that is not the top of his field. In fact, I don't give a shit about it. But
ooh, yeah, I let the shit talk begin. Sorry, any listeners that went to Harvard. Sorry.
Did I ever tell you about the bar fight I got into? It wasn't a bar fight. It was an argument with a girl. And
A bargument.
bargument. Exactly. It was a
Yeah.
bargument. And I can't remember what we were talking about. And she goes, I completely, the way I remember it, somehow it came up. She's like, I went to Harvard. And I look her in the eyes and I go, I don't care. And that was like,
I feel like that's a stereotypical thing, like that they show on TV shows and movies. Like anybody that went to Harvard always has to fit it in the conversation.
yeah. And we were both completely wasted. And I think the next morning we apologized. She's like, well, I don't know what we're talking about.
I don't know.
But
Wow. Like,
I stand by my, I don't care. So my immediate reaction was, well, he's a law professor at Harvard. I don't care. So
that's nice.
that's nice. I don't believe that the institution you teach at is either makes you a good teacher. In fact, it doesn't. You probably have some alkalides in your field that got you into the position that you're in, but you could still be a completely shitty teacher. And the alkalides are not necessarily correlated with being the top member in your field. In fact, if he had to transfer from law to teaching, chances are he wasn't on the top of the field. It's probably pretty high, but there's probably other people out there making more money. And then you also have to ask the fact, are we in the legal field, are we talking about law as the top of your field as making a lot of money and being well known and prestigious? And I would say being prestigious and making money are not necessarily the same thing. Are we talking about becoming a Supreme Court justice, which is, I would say, higher than teaching law at Harvard? Are we talking about some sort of other mechanism of pushing law or advocating for legal change? I'm just not seeing teaching law at Harvard as
the
anything.
top of their field.
Yeah, anything more than what Leonard's doing. So I felt like that was a cop out there that she was.
I feel like you're self-burning yourself as an English professor.
I am, but that's part of why I'm an English professor. I'm like, I can talk bad about myself. That's
okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how I talk shit about restaurants, and I'm okay with it because I'm a chef.
Exactly.
by trade.
We
So
got
it's
our
like,
things.
it's all good, right?
And I'm not going to fall into that thing where people say those who can't do teach, because I do believe that teachers can actually do a lot, but they.
I feel like teaching is harder than actually doing. To be brutally honest, like in the times that I've had to train people to do a job, I utterly fail. Like I am so much better at doing than teaching. Teaching is so much harder because you have to like get on like the level of the students. Just because it makes sense to you doesn't mean that the way that you perceive it is going to make sense to them.
That's absolutely right. That you have to be able to communicate with them and explain it. Yeah, I'm not going to say I don't think it's any harder or easier. It's just it's a different skill. It's like playing baseball versus playing pinball, like different skills. I'm terrible at baseball. I'm okay at pinball. So
I just smack that shit.
Yeah, you just shake the machine until you win.
Really if you fail, you kick it.
Okay, so that's what I think about Michael. And they say the sister has grown a human pancreas and a gibbon. And this is where I get my third IQ point.
I did one too. I got some stuff on this one too. But before we get into that, I will say that I do respect Beverly based on her comment on this, where Howard says like, wow, you must be so proud of them. And she says, why? They're not my accomplishments. I feel like that's like one of the good qualities because like I've been noticing just in parents in general, like when you become a parent, you start meeting other parents and you like look at the world differently and blah, blah, blah. But like you notice that that parents take this odd pride in their children's accomplishments, which I find so weird. It's like, you didn't do anything. Like they are an individual. Sure, you helped mold them, but they're the one doing it. So why are you so proud of and making it seem like it's your accomplishment? I've been noticing that a lot with parents. It's like, dude, get over yourself. It's not even your accomplishment. Your kid did it.
We get that. What's that? What's the Mr. Hanky song? I love you.
Mr. Hanky the Christmas poo?
Yeah, it's.
Wait, are you being serious right now?
I'm serious. There's a word. There's an important word. He loves me. I love you. Therefore, vicariously, he loves you.
Yeah.
So vicariously means that living through someone else's experience.
Yeah.
And we see this a lot with like student athletes in high school and their parents like pushing them and saying, "Oh, I'm so awesome. Look at what my kid did." And it's like, wait, you're not the awesome one. Your kid's doing it themselves. You know,
yeah,
you
like, why are you acting like you're awesome? Exactly. Your kid's awesome, not you.
I don't get. I see that perspective too, and it's with teaching as well. That people are like, oh, you help your student do this, get published, or do that, and I'm just like, I gave them the guidance, but they did it all themselves. Like
yeah.
But although
I showed them where the door is, but they went through it.
However, you can still be, but this is splitting hairs, that I can be proud of them, but I'm not proud of myself for them. Like, I'm just like, wow, they're awesome. They did a really good job. But that's different than saying, like, I'm proud because I was part of that. Like, I don't. It's weird. Although, you were saying you were going to take complete responsibility for Hunter walking, so I don't know, Rob.
I did that. That is my accomplishment. You owe everything to me, child.
But I agree that it's humbling to say that they are their accomplishments and they take full credit for them.
Well, I think this might be the only quality of Beverly I like. Otherwise, fucking hate her.
I don't care, Beverly.
Yeah.
All right, so what'd you get with this IQ point?
All right.
Pancreases and gibbons.
So, how growing a pancreas in an adolescent gibbon is close to curing diabetes. Because as someone that's not in the medical field, someone that doesn't really know medicine at all, I had to look into this and figure it all out. What's a pancreas? What does that have to do with diabetes? This is probably super simple to a lot of people, but sorry, it wasn't to me.
What's a diabetes anyways?
Is it under the bridge?
It's under the bridge somewhere.
Well, I found this on clevelandclinic.org and mayoclinic.org. The pancreas contains glands that release substances to help with digestion and control blood sugar. Type 1 and type 2 diabetes are common pancreatic conditions. Other pancreatic conditions include pancreatitis and pancreatic cancer. The pancreas performs two main functions. Exocrine function, which produces substances, enzymes that help with digestion, and endocrine function sends out hormones that control the amount of sugar in your bloodstream. Pancreas transplants can happen if someone does have diabetes. Most pancreas transplants are done to treat type 1 diabetes. A pancreas transplant offers a potential cure for this condition, but it's typically reserved for those with serious complications of diabetes because the side effects of pancreas transplant can be significant. In some cases, pancreas transplants may also treat type 2 diabetes. Rarely, pancreas transplants may be used in the treatment of pancreatic cancer, bile duct cancer, or other cancers. A pancreas transplant is often done in conjunction with a kidney transplant in people whose kidneys have been damaged by diabetes. So I looked into this specific research. Has this research actually been done, especially with a gibbon?
That's kind of where I was going with this too.
Yeah. So I found this on medicaldaily.com, Forbes.com, and japantimes.co.jp.
I have to ask first, did you know what a gibbon was going in? I did not.
I knew it was like a monkey-like primate because I remember learning about that in some class in college.
Gibbons went under the bridge for me. I have no idea. I had no idea what it
Okay,
was.
yeah.
I thought it was a
Yeah.
bird. I'm like,
Oh.
what?
Whoops. Why are they doing research on birds about
She
cancer?
grew a liver or a pancreas in a bird? Wow.
Yeah. And then it flew away.
Well, there goes one pancreas.
My pancreas. Well, back in 2013, Japan was making waves on growing human organs in animals, but it was mostly pigs.
Mm.
At this point in time, Japan was waiting for government approval to move forward with this testing. Using a pig seems much more feasible. Getting their hands on multiple gibbons seems insane. So, this research was actually approved back in 2019, and as far as I know, research is ongoing. But I looked into other research on this topic. Other scientists are pushing toward artificial pancreases to run tests or to hopefully transplant. Right now, MIT is learning to grow replicas of the pancreas using either healthy or cancerous pancreatic cells. And these replicas can be used to test potential drugs for pancreatic cancer. They take cells and implant them into a special gel where the pancreas will grow. Also, in 2021, a research team at Brigham and Women's Hospital, together with scientists from Harvard, sorry, Harvard, we shit on you earlier, but you know what? You're doing great things now.
I don't care if it's Harvard.
And the University of Massachusetts described the design of an artificial pancreas for children and adults with type 1 diabetes. The artificial pancreas is a small, implantable device that automatically produces insulin according to the body's needs. So potentially no more need for animal testing. So that's pretty cool.
I'm cracking up over here because I'm imagining people like playing Duck Hunt and like shooting a duck and be like, I got a liver.
It's getting away.
It's getting away. There's my pancreas. I got a new kidney. Shoot whatever you need. Fly away.
But as we said earlier, a gibbon is not a bird.
It's not a bird.
But as far as we know, at least in my research, I could not find any study where they're actually using gibbons.
You know, I got the same thing. Nothing about gibbons. I got an article posted in 2016 that gene editing was used to grow a human pancreas in a pig. And Science Daily in 2021, just like you said, mixing cells with, and like that was the thing, it was like, quote, a gel, like the right type of gel, patent gel, that they were able to grow pancreases in mice. And like you said, they're also going for artificial ones. But so there's been new things, although all these articles were taking place after 2009, which is one of the things I mentioned earlier, that as of 2009, not quite there, that we developed it after this. So this was fictionalized.
Wait, they grew it? How big is a pancreas if they grow it in a mouse?
I think they were growing mice pancreases in mice, not
Okay.
human pancreases.
A little mouse with a human pancreas
Its legs are
growing
like
on the
flapping
side.
around. That's just a
It's
big
kicking
like...
its legs and everything. Like, wait, what?
Do you think the mice minds this? It looks like he's in pain. I don't know. Cut him open. Give me my pancreas. Okay, so yeah, we get the must be proud part, and she says they're not my accomplishments. And
now she has to urinate again.
Again, she gets up and leaves. Leonard asks Howard is why he's doing this, and Howard says, "You know the rules. You bring your mom to work, you suffer."
Yep.
I do like the way this plays out. And then Raj calls Leonard the Jar Jar Binks of his family.
Yep.
And I have to say that this probably is a joke that doesn't age well, because Jar Jar Binks, well, I don't know. First of all, he was from like the 90s. People know him. Do people know him so much now with the new episodes of Star Wars? And
I will say, like, if we want to do a really deep cut on this, Jar Jar isn't in the storyline anymore. There's actually a canon comic book story where that he actually went back to his home planet and became like a jester. Like it kind of like they really like fucked over Jar Jar. But rewinding back to it being relevant now, there was an episode of The Mandalorian
Uh-huh.
where the actor that played Jar Jar actually did a cameo as a Jedi Knight. So there was a little bit of redemption for that actor.
I heard that he
And
was dealing with some psychological issues, that the criticism he got were...
yeah, he was suicidal
Yeah.
for like a little bit just because he was getting so much hate for Jar Jar, which doesn't make this is where toxic fandom like really needs to cool it down. It's like, dude, it's like he didn't write it. He didn't like go into the writer's room and be like, this is how it should be. He's just the actor that portrayed a vision of the director and writer. So I don't
Exactly.
know, like it's really fucked up that he got so much like shit for it.
It's not like he went to Harvard.
Exactly. Wait, there's no Harvard acting school?
I don't know, is there?
The drama department of
drama.
Harvard. It's where we learned how to say it. Harvard.
Harvard. At Harvard. We learned how to say Harvard.
And I played Jar Jar.
I played Jar Jar. Jar Jar Harvard.
But I would say that, well, I would say a lot of Star Wars fans, even new and old, will know who Jar Jar is.
That's fair. That's fair.
Even in 2009, like he was still like being ridiculed because, yeah, toxic fandom never goes away.
So yeah, I don't know how to feel, because I feel like their harshing on Jar Jar Binks was kind of online with the toxic fandom and with the character. I'm just like, let that one go.
Yeah. But I think it was just they wanted to make some sort of nerd reference, so low hanging fruit. Yeah.
And it's so Leonard says they could help instead of just mocking him, and Raj mentions it's so much more fun to just mock you.
Yep.
Right? And the mom comes back, Beverly comes back, and because the middle stall is taken, I like this because they mention that was really quick, because I was thinking, damn, that was a quick pee. And she's like, the middle stall was taken. And
which is funny because I feel like that's like part of the joke, like who chooses the middle stall. And she's such a weird person that of course you would choose a middle stall, but I always choose a middle stall.
You do? Wow.
And here's why. Because if you really think about it, the middle stall is probably the least used.
Huh.
The most in 3 stalls. If there's like the handicap one with like the wheelchair, that's the largest one. So that's like the most popular because it's the largest one. You have the most space. So that's going to be the most used. Then second most used is the one furthest away at the end. Is like at the other end unit. So no people, when they walk in and see 3 empty stalls, first choice, handicap. Handicap's taken, guess what? I'm going to go farthest away from that person and go to the other end. No, that means the middle stall gets used the least. That's my logic, and that's why I choose the middle stall.
We need to do some numbers on this, because it's been my experience the middle stall is usually the dirtiest one. That's the one that's usually overflowing with bad stuff. And
what makes you say that?
Just in my experience, like going in, like I love the handicap one because I love the space and I like the privacy. And
you know how many asses have been sitting on that seat?
That's why you use the thing. But it's usually clean, the water's clean, and the toilet is flushing, and that's the most I can ask for in an emergency. And sometimes they even have like their own sinks, and I'm like, man, I could just do like my own thing in here, and it's amazing. Yeah. But I feel guilty using those because I'm like, if somebody comes in and I'm in the middle of this and they're handicapped and they can't use another one, like I feel guilty. So I immediately try to look at the other ones. And oftentimes, like you said, somebody is in the far one and the middle one is overflowing.
So the middle, in your experience, the middle one is always overflowing?
Yeah.
Where do you go to the bathroom?
Every airport in America.
That's why I go in the lounge.
Ooh, you're fancy.
Yeah.
So bathrooms. She comes back, and Leonard throws Raj and Howard under a bus, saying Howard lives with his mother, and Raj can't talk to women without being drunk. And I like this because she actually digs into it without even considering. She goes, Raj, your issue is very rare, like being able to
Select mutism.
select mutism, but Howard's issue is more of a sociological cliche.
Yeah.
And then she claims both problems can come from pathological fear of women, which is why they created an
And
Ersatz
yeah.
homosexual marriage. And I did a little IQ point on this one for my fourth and final.
This was my failed IQ point.
Oh, let me know what you had. I'm curious. Or do you want me to go
Well,
straight in?
so um I wanted to do more research on the Ersatz homosexual relationship, and if not necessarily a fear of women led to it, but I guess I looked into it as a sense of like the need and lack of intimacy between between males will eventually develop into an ersatz homosexual relationship. Can a bromance lead into a mock relationship and a mock marriage and everything like that? And I looked high and low and I couldn't find anything on that topic. So I couldn't find any real studies that could support the idea that an ersatz homosexual relationship will develop from a lack of intimacy. But then it got me into like the studies of real ersatz relationships. And
Real
an
quick
ersatz,
question. Did
oh,
you have to look up Ersatz or did you know the word?
I did not know the
I
word.
had to look it
Like
up too. It means
I had to look it up
substitute.
too.
I had no
Yeah, it was
idea.
it's a substitute for something else or not real or genuine.
Hmm.
So in my research, it seems that most ersatz marriages are observed on the latter about it not being genuine, meaning that they're classified as what's called a lavender marriage. And I don't know if you've ever heard that term before, but I had not heard this
Lavender
term.
marriage? No, I haven't.
Yeah. A lavender marriage is where a male female relationship occurs out of convenience. And it's usually to conceal the socially stigmatized sexual orientation of one or both partners. So it's basically like a fake marriage to conceal homosexuality.
Yeah.
So that's what a lavender marriage is. So that's what is described as most ersatz relationships. That is just a relationship that's not, in quote, not real.
That makes sense. I'm thinking of, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I've heard of certain writers throughout history being gay and getting into a marriage like that because it benefits both parties and the rest of the world's not criticizing them necessarily because they're
Yep.
gay. Yeah.
A great example is the new show that came out on Netflix that we just watched, XO Kitty. It's a little teeny whopper show, but my wife likes that kind of stuff, so
That's
we watched
fair.
it. Yeah. But that's my failed IQ point because I couldn't find any information to truly support her statement.
I think that I don't count that as a failed one because I'm going to play off that and playing off it, I think that her thought is it's definitely an assumption. But again, with her psychology background and what she's going with and the number of statements she's made, I feel like she makes a lot of assumptions with her statements. And much like Freud doing case studies as opposed to empirical evidence, that I don't feel like it's solid, but I can see where she's going with it. And so I started off with defining ersatz as a substitute. And then I went into gynophobia. And I looked at a couple different websites, mindhelp.com and verywellmind.com. And from what I understand, gynophobia is the fear of women versus there was another one. I don't think I wrote it down. It's like femophobia. And femophobia was more of the fear of being feminine. And so you could be scared of like, oh, I'm too feminine. I like to bake, and that scares me. I don't like to do things like ballet scares me because it's considered feminine. But gynophobia, gynophobia. I'm guessing gyno instead of gyno.
Yeah, like a
Yeah, that's what I was
gynecologist.
thinking. Is the fear of women themselves, and this is, although it is in the DSM and is a documented diagnosed thing, it's not very well understood, and it could be genetic, but I think they're leaning towards it being more environmental. And to treat it, they're working with exposure therapy, basically desensitizing people. And they work with men, but I'm guessing women could have gynophobia too. It's just that it seems like men, and they actually stated like a number of reasons. It's not necessarily what's the word, being, what's the word that means man loving, female hating,
Chauvinistic.
Yeah, chauvinistic. But maybe they've been abused, maybe they've been hurt, and they're actually scared of their feelings. And it actually plays out much like, finding the symptoms are much like Raj of not being able to talk to women, of feeling sick, of having to run away, of feeling dizzy, like being scared of heights. And so the notion is desensitizing, throwing themselves into the situation and feeling those emotions until they kind of go away is the way to deal with it. However, it's also finding coping mechanisms. And this is where I wonder if maybe their Ersatz marriage, or what she calls that, a marriage, their bromance is a coping mechanism. That because they are scared of women, they are falling back on the relationship with each other and being able to talk and intermingle with each other and support each other through that fear of relationships and fear of women. And we definitely see it with Raj, where he is scared of women. Howard has his own issues, although he might be, what's the word,
Thirsty.
Yes, overcompensating for his fear,
Yeah.
and going overboard. And so the notion is, I think she is making an assumption here, but also at the same time, there could logically be a coping mechanism. Although from what I found, there's no specific coping mechanisms of guys who are afraid of women often form fake gay marriage, substitute marriages.
Yeah. Couldn't find anything either.
So I think together,
Yeah.
that's not a failed IQ. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, with our powers combined.
We get a mostly fulfilled IQ point. Howard looks and is like, "What?" It's like, "Say what?" Like, he's totally thrown off guard. And Leonard mentions, "While you brought your husband to work, you know the rules. Suffer." And it's 1, which means it's time to show him the lab, right? That he promised to show her the lab at 1:00, and you have to show her the lab. And then Sheldon also points in it is 1:00 and backs her up. They almost look identical, right?
Yep.
And then,
so similar.
Yeah, they end up leaving, and Raj and Howard have a fight over responsibility and what happened at the comic book store last week. And I get a point here for being like Sheldon, because they go through this huge fight and Sheldon's watching and listening, and his response is, "You went to the comic book store without me?"
So oblivious. I love it.
That is I could see that. Yeah. All right, so 1 point like Sheldon.
Well, I did an IQ point on Leonard's work.
Oh.
So Leonard is telling his mother about his work, that he is attempting to replicate the dark matter signal found in sodium iodide crystals by the Italians.
Oh yeah.
And her only comment was, "Oh, so no original work." Of course, she would shit all over it. But it got me wondering, was this really a study being done by the Italians? And the answer is, it would appear so.
Huh.
I found in an article, quantummagazine.org, that would later be reprinted in Wired and The Atlantic. According to this article, the Italians have been working on an experiment since 1998 called DAMA. So it's all capitals. I couldn't find it that, like, if this was an abbreviation for something, even on Wikipedia. DAMA.
Dama.
Yeah. But DAMA, which will later evolve into a different phase, and which they call the Dama Libra, searches for popular dark matter candidates called WIMPs.
Wimps?
WIMP, WIMP, a weakly, as in like you're weak, weakly interacting massive particles. The scientists monitor an array of sodium iodide crystals kept deep under Gran Sasso Mountain in the Apennines, looking for flashes of radiation that could be caused by dark matter particles colliding with atomic nuclei in crystals. So what they're looking for is as the solar system hurtles through the galaxy, it looks like a wind of these WIMPs coming at you, similar to if you're driving through the rain and the rain pellets hit your windshield. So that's what they're looking for and measuring. So then I had to look into, are the Italians actually still working on this? And I found this article in Forbes. And Leonard, maybe you should have done your own original research, because the Italian experiment has failed as of 2021.
Oh.
The Dama Libra experiment at one point was the most promising experiment at detecting true dark matter. Because as of now, dark matter exists in theory, but we still have never physically discovered it. But it has recently been busted. A completely independent team called ANACE has carried out an identical experiment to Dama Libra, replicating the study and testing its validity. With 3 complete years of data collected, ANACE has ruled out the Dama Libra results in a model independent way to better than 99% confidence. Some might think this to be a tragedy. Years of wasted work, but it's really not, because as Raj has said in a previous episode, negative results are still results. And this really was a huge step forward into revealing the great truths of the universe. So, not a total loss. It was decades of research out the window, but
I mean, it sucks, but sometimes it takes decades of research to move a little bit further.
So basically what Leonard is doing, replicating their work, kind of, in a sense, a waste of time, but he didn't know that. It was 2009. Of course, he wouldn't know that going into it.
Maybe he was working for what was the other group?
ANACE.
ANACE?
Oh, I don't know it didn't say what ANACE stand for. ANAIS.
It's kind of like Anonymous, where it's just a bunch of people out there trying to disprove big companies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's what I had on the replication of the Italians' work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was the thing that they were monitoring? Sodium iodide?
It is sodium iodide crystals.
That's like table salt?
It didn't actually say what it actually was.
I think it's table salt.
Sodium iodide crystal, like, it sounds fancier with when you throw crystals in there, but I guess if you think about salt, they are little crystals.
Yeah. I just imagine them going down like underneath this mountain. There's just like these great piles of salt. And like,
and no fries.
No fries. Take me away, dark matter.
I'm gonna sing Under the Bridge and cry.
If only I had a red hot chili pepper. Yeah, so I have no idea how that experiment worked, but in my mind, it was funny.
Well, either way, it was disproved and not a thing. So that's
Yeah.
pretty wild.
Okay, so we are at Penny's
You,
house, and
yeah.
Penny is Leonard gets there, and this is where I was saying Penny is dressed in sweats and a cap, and you can tell that she's trying to be the boy that her dad wanted her to be.
Slugger.
Reminds me a lot of what's your name on How I Met Your Mother? Robin.
Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So there's it's ongoing, but it's a trope, I guess. Leonard asks if she has alcohol, and Penny says, "Is your mom still here?" She says, "Yes." And Penny says, "Come on in," and waves the wine bottle.
Yep.
And they, start drinking. But mom mentions Beverly and Sheldon, or she says, "Where's your mom?" And he says that she's taking Sheldon to get a brain scan because apparently she likes seeing brains and Sheldon likes getting his brain scanned. So it's a cohesive relationship, I guess. Yeah.
I just thought about this now. Do you think that he had Dr. Stephanie take a brain scan of him?
Oh, I imagine he did. Yes. Yeah.
I wish they would have showed that just because of like a little bit of continuity and a little bit of foreshadowing and all that stuff. I like stuff like that, but
Although
that would have been cool.
realistically, and I mentioned that I was reading this book about aliens and I had my issues with it, but honestly, it brought up a good point that if you have an issue or you think you have an issue, like you're pretty sure you have an implant, an alien implant, and you want to get x-rayed, you have to get a doctor to prove that. And going into a doctor and saying, like, I need you to do this, you can't just, like, they're going to say, no, I'm not going to authorize that. And so Dr. Stephanie, like, just because Sheldon's like, I think you should give me a brain scan, like, if she was following her Hippocratic, is that what it is?
The Hippocratic Oath.
She would not file for a brain scan for him. In fact, I don't think.
Well, isn't the Hippocratic Oath more about like I will do my duty to save lives no matter what?
I thought
I
it was
will like.
to do no harm.
I guess in a sense that's part of it. But I was in my mind. I was thinking like, how would that do him harm? But at the same, doing multiple X-rays is not good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says, in the oath, the physician pledges to prescribe only beneficial treatments according to the abilities and judgment, to refrain from causing harm or hurt, and to live an exemplary personal and professional life. And I'm reminded of this where, did you watch Deadwood?
No, I've heard good things.
I fucking love it.
Would it still hold up? I mean, it's a time period one, so it's like it must still hold up. Now, if I started watching it now, it would still hold up.
It's like, best way I've heard explained is it's like the Old West, but written by Shakespeare.
Ooh.
And so there's like monologues, there are a lot of double entendres, a lot of like just like a lot of deeper meaning, a lot of good characterization, but like you have to have the CCs
Is Ian
on.
McShane in that?
What is it?
Is Ian McShane in that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I love me some Ian McShane. All right, I'm
Him.
gonna watch it.
Who's the guy from? Oh, let me look this up really quickly. Justified.
Oh my god,
Timothy Olyphant.
Okay, I'm gonna watch that shit. I don't know. Oh fuck yeah.
But what I'm getting at is the fucking doctor, who also plays the voice of Chucky in Child's Play, is amazing. And there's a part where there's a bartender, a waitress lady, who has disabilities, and she wants him to make a device to help her walk. And he puts up a fight saying, I took an oath saying I will not do harm, and that I may make this for you, and it might help you walk, but it could hurt you a lot more.
Mm.
And like that always made me think that like just because you are helping somebody, you have to think of the repercussions.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense because like I said, I don't really study the medical field. I don't really do a lot with that. I don't really know a lot. And my wife is always on YouTube, and she always hears these stories about like people that think that they have some sort of disease.
Uh-huh.
So then they go to the doctor, and the doctor won't do this test on them. They're just like, no, you probably don't have that. You probably don't have that. And then of course, this is where she loses faith in the medical system because, like, of course, it's a YouTuber, and they're like, turns out I did have this disease, and the doctor wouldn't, like, I could have found this out a year ago, but the doctor wouldn't do it. And that's kind of where the Hippocratic Oath comes into play, where it's like, in their medical expertise, they did not think that they had this. Like, none of the signs pointed to them having this disease or ailment. So conducting the tests would only do more harm. So now it's kind of all clicking in right now.
And it's like in Scrubs where Cox says, when you hear the pounding of hoofs, go ahead and think horses, not zebras. And it plays on that analogy that zebras are rare, and that if it is a disease, it's not going to be the rare disease because that doesn't usually happen. Go ahead and assume it's a horse because horses are common. I don't know if you remember that line at all, but
I don't like. There are so many episodes of Scrubs.
Cox plays it a lot better than I did
Yeah.
because Cox is amazing. But
Yes, amazing.
amazing. All right. So, anyways, I was thinking that I didn't see why he would be getting that brain scan, and I don't think realistically I could see Beverly doing it as part of a medical experiment, but Stephanie I don't think would be able to do that. She would have to hold back a lot because of the oath she took.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so yeah. So Leonard said he's considering alcoholism as a career path, and mentions his mom is getting into both of their heads a little bit. And Penny mentions that she was at an audition, that she was trying for the part of a blonde for an antidepressant commercial, and that she was too perky.
Which follows along with her character, like she's definitely like she kind of exudes perkiness.
But she's also like in the state where she's really depressed, and you can tell like she is wearing her sweats and the hat. And
Yeah,
she's perky, like still. And she didn't get the part. Leonard asks if she knows what he did for human contact as a child. And I did love this. Apparently, oh yeah, she does. She mentions, your mom told me you grabbed your penis. Right? That's a great reflection of that. Grabbed your penis and wouldn't let go. But he mentions, no, I built a robot that had like a warming mechanism and would pat me on the back and tell me I did a good job.
Yeah, a hugging machine.
A hugging machine. And he goes, the worst part is my father used to borrow it.
Which I don't want to go into spoiler territory, but that's possible foreshadowing. Because if you actually listen, like if you remember earlier, Beverly was saying that she only had intercourse with her husband for procreation purposes.
Yeah, reproduction.
So that means the father had a need for intimacy.
I was going to say that just because you were doing that just for reproduction, well, the father has needs too, so
possible foreshadowing, but that's all I will say.
My father used to borrow it. I just, because it wasn't a sex bot. It was just like, you did a good job.
Yeah.
You're appreciated.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
The old pat on the back instead of a handshake. It wasn't a handshake machine. It was a pat on the back machine.
Pat on the back.
A hug and a pat.
And so we get into the hall, and Sheldon is walking with Beverly, and she mentions that he has a remarkable brain. And he says, really, I hate my frontal lobe. And she makes the remark that that's what men say. Things are never big enough. Unless it's a tumor, then it's always too
Yep.
big, right?
Yep. And then they never shut up
Then
about
they
it.
never shut up about it. Sheldon wants to see her brain, and she says it's unimpressive. So it's, evident that they're getting into some flattery. It seems flirtatious.
Yeah.
And he mentions, what are the chances that they would be connected by Leonard? And she goes, is that a rhetorical question? Or do you want to do the math? And they agree they actually want to do the math.
I'd like to do the math.
I would also like to do the math.
Yeah.
This reminds me of Frasier quite a bit, because it's that, what's the word? Dramatic irony, where the audience knows something, but the characters don't necessarily know it. And in this case, the audience knows that this type of relationship, this flirtation, is sexual, but the characters themselves are not they don't understand sexuality like that. So they are flirting, but they don't understand it to be sexual. So the audience is like, oh, they're going to hook up. And the audience is playing off or the show is playing off the audience's expectations of a sexual hookup, which I would say is what makes it funny. All right. So that's my breakdown of that scene. They're back at Penny's, and Penny and Leonard are doing tequila shots. And Penny says, okay, this time you're going to lick the salt off my neck, do the shot, and then bite the lime. And he starts to lick her neck, and he just doesn't stop. I'm like,
I can only say this because I know my wife doesn't listen to our podcast, but I wouldn't either.
if you're invited in, was
it would be rude not to.
Right? It's like, no, I had a little lick. That's all I need of you. Like that's rude. You don't want to be rude.
Oh, no. It's like a dead fish handshake. That's just rude.
That's just rude. You don't want to, it's very confusing. It's complex. How long do you lick? When do you lick? But yeah, anyways, I agree with him. He was invited in, and she stops him, and he does his shot, and he's like, where's the lime? It's in her mouth.
Yeah.
That was a good play. And
I like that. Like, they go for it, and then the lime transfers into his mouth, and he has to spit it out.
I put a big smiley face on this because it was a really cute hookup, and they end up making out. And then back in the apartment, Shelley is asking Beverly what she thinks, and we don't know what they're talking about, but he mentions she's not sure if it's going to be appropriate, but he says that he experiences a lot of endorphin release upon committing this action, and that he thinks that it is worth it. And the audience is left unsure what it is, but they're staring at each other, looking each other in the eyes, right? Mm-hmm. We go back to Penny's, and they're in the freaking bed.
Yeah. Oh, you were so excited to see that. Like, yes, go Leonard.
In the freaking bed. And I'm actually giving myself a point for being like Leonard because he fucks up the whole situation. 2 point. Leonard ruins the hookup. Because
I take it. I don't know if you want to share this, but has this happened to you then? Mid hookup?
Not specifically, but I know I have, maybe not about my mom, but I'm gonna say I've brought up things. I'm like, I want to talk about this, and it just like ends the mood immediately, and like, shit.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
I've definitely learned to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah,
not from experience, because like, you know what, I got nothing to say right now.
I should do that, but even Leonard's like little happy voice, like, I'm happy. I want to talk about it. Like, I'm like, yeah, I've been there. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
So he says, it's like well, basically, they're making up for intimacy from their parents. He mentions his mom would say this is making up for lack of intimacy as children. And Penny gets mad. Why would you bring that up? And he says, it's kind of like I'm having sex with my mother. And that's a deal breaker. He really...
Once you put that image in your head, you're done.
Yeah. It's like, again, with Friends, where Chandler brings up bringing up having sex with Ross's mother, right?
Yeah, and it was the ultimate fantasy too. The Princess Leia outfit. Princess Leia slave outfit. And then it got ruined.
And he looks over and it's just his mom's face like, God damn it, Chandler. So yeah, as soon as he mentioned that, and he goes, it's like you're having sex with your father. And just the scene
and
ends.
I'm okay with that. Idiot.
And so he goes to the hallway. He's getting kicked out of the apartment. And he admits he should have shushed when she told him to. He walks in on his mom and Sheldon, and what are they doing? Rock band. They are singing along, and that's what they were talking about the whole freaking time. Leonard goes
Journeys
in and walks
any way you want it.
Any way you want. And pretty horrific rendition, too. I'm not much of a judge, but I'm going to say...
Great song, horrible execution, but you know what? They were having fun.
If they're having fun, that's what I would bring to.
That's the point of karaoke, too. It's like, if you're good at singing, don't do karaoke, because fuck you.
Right? That's kind of what I think. Like, we don't need you here. Go out and get a record deal.
Shitty. Yeah.
This is supposed to be fun and shitty.
I am horrible at karaoke, so I need other people to be just as shitty.
Have you ever seen, what was it? 500 Days of Summer?
Yeah, it's been a while, but
I saw it when it came out. What's his name? Joseph
Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, is doing karaoke to the Pixies. And it's awful, but it's so awful, it's great. I'm like, that is what karaoke should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just having fun, letting loose.
Just enjoying it. Yeah. Alright, so he walks to bed, and we're at the end now, and the mom is leaving, and Leonard hugs her, and it gets awkward because he won't let go, and she doesn't really know how to hug. But it's like he's remembering that robot.
Yeah, and he wishes her a good flight, and of course she has the most, like, ugh response. Mm-hmm. That's not really in my control, is it?
It's not in my control. But like, Penny comes out, and she is very clearly hungover as well. And says, I've been meaning to talk to you. And Leonard says, you don't have to. And she's like, thank you. So they are both, it was a nice hookup, but at the same time, it wasn't the right hookup. And they both realize that.
Yep.
And then Penny and the mom Beverly are talking again. And they go to downstairs. And Penny's crying again about her mom not standing up for her. At any point, she could have said, Penny is not a girl or a boy. She is a girl. You need to respect that. And Penny's mom never did anything about that. Beverly asks if Penny will get a brain scan while talking to her about her parents. And she goes, will that help? And she goes, Beverly says, it'll help me.
Fuck you, Bev.
Seriously, Bev, you are so full of yourself. Go teach at Harvard.
All right. On that note, I will invite anybody that actually likes Beverly, please shoot us a message. I want redemption.
Or if you like Harvard at this point. I mean, we've beaten both of them down today.
Well, we did it. That was the episode.
It was a fun episode. Not my favorite, but a fun episode.
Yeah. I feel like it advanced the overall story with like Leonard's background and how he became the way he is based off his parents and everything like that.
And we get three more characters: his brother, his sister, and his father, who are probably going to come in they should come in at some point.
Okay. Well, do you want some spoilers?
No. God damn it, Rob.
Well, there is. Okay. So, Without spoilers, there is this. There is
Uh,
a there is a theory which I'm gonna word in a non-spoiler way,
mm,
but there's this internet theory out there. Like so to be fair,
to
they
be
never
fair.
really actually explain it. But there is an internet theory out there that Leonard is a social experiment.
Ah,
That
shit.
that Beverly actually raised all three of her children in a different way and documented it and wrote papers on it.
To see how they would turn out.
Yeah. So it would appear that Leonard got the short end of the straw. So it's an internet theory, and they've never really mentioned, like, they don't really address it in the episode.
Although, to be fair, I feel like the mom, Beverly, in her own way, is still trying to hook her son up when she goes, you should figure out what cologne her dad wears. That's kind of, again,
I don't know. I looked at
scrubby,
that
but
as more of like I looked at that more as an academic flex. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. Like,
oh man, maybe it
I
was
looked
just
at
because it was
that.
like the first scene, but I took it as like, hey, I'm gonna help you out. If you want to hook up with her, this is what you do.
Yeah,
You don't
I
think?
don't see Beverly being that helpful.
Ah, damn you, Beverly.
Yeah. Like I said before, like, Beverly is, in all the characters that you come across in the series, 12 seasons, she is my least favorite by far. I cannot stand her.
Damn.
Every time, like, I guess she's the mother. She will come back. That's not really a spoiler. Every time, it sucks.
Well, I think it says something that she was able to raise Leonard, and as far as nurture nature go hand in hand, that Leonard came out to be a pretty decent person.
Well, morally, he's good, but he's very damaged.
Oh yeah, but who
But
isn't? Everybody is.
okay, you and I are damaged in a normal, healthy way, where we know our parents were actually trying, so it's all good. So, my dad is an avid listener, so thank you, Dad. You did a great job. I love you, and no matter what happened to us in the past, it's all good. I came out on the other end great, but Leonard did not come out great.
I'm going to say my dad still doesn't really understand what a podcast is.
So he's not going to be on the show anytime soon.
In fact, he asked me, it was yesterday, he goes, you're doing it on How I Met Your Mother, right? I'm like, it's been 2 years. It's been over a year.
Well, do you want to do How I Met Your Mother after this?
Fuck it, why not?
Maybe that'll be our in-between episode.
Will that get you to appreciate me, Dad? I want your love,
Daddy.
Dad.
I need your love. Ryan, do good. Ryan, do good.
I'm good boy. I'm good.
All right. Well, before we dive into our childhood emotions,
I've
overall,
already done it.
all right, you count up the Sheldon points. I'll count up the IQ points.
We just went up a point on each side, 58 to 56 now.
Oh, dang.
But I
It's
respect
still
these
neck and
points
neck.
on both ends. The comic book store and Leonard rooting his hookup with Penny.
And we have 7 IQ points.
That's a good point. I felt like they were good IQ points too. Good ones to talk about.
These were really good ones.
Yeah.
Well, any last minute thoughts on this episode? Anything like, how'd you like Beverly?
I think she's annoying, but she is designed to be annoying, so she's doing exactly what she's supposed to.
I will say I hate Beverly, but the actress that portrays her does such a good job. She
You
does
love to hate her.
amazing.
Yeah.
So I will not hate her like people hated Jar Jar Binks.
That's fair. And I'd also
She just did her job.
throw it out there too that as a character, she's displaying what Sheldon can become, like a Ghost of Christmas Future type shit. And maybe he's inclined to get more emotion or care more about people, be more romantic. I don't know. I saw him kissing that girl during the baseball game, and I'm like, maybe we can hope for him.
Well, I guess you'll have to wait and see. So, side note, back to Star Wars. Have you seen any of the new trailers for Ahsoka?
I have not.
Or are you interested at all?
I am, but I haven't seen anything.
I think Ahsoka is going to be the greatest thing ever. I really do.
Tell me more about it.
So, one of my deep diving into Star Wars, one of my favorite content of Star Wars is Rebels. It is an animated series that takes place right before the events of A New Hope. So pretty much it's in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. It is a rebel cell that it's the adventures of a rebel cell before the rebellion, like as the rebellion is being created.
Universalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that it's the start of the rebellion, and it introduces all these amazing characters, and you're gonna see them live action. And it looks like, because Rebels is my favorite like Star Wars like one of my favorite Star Wars content.
Yeah,
it is going to be great. Rosario Dawson is coming back as Ahsoka. They're introducing new villains. They're bringing in the Rebels characters live action. Oh, this is going to be the greatest thing ever.
I need to say something because, if you're listening to this in a year or 2 or 3 years, probably won't matter. But for the next, honestly, it's probably going to be important for the next 2 or 3 years. So if you're listening 4 or 5 years, it's not important. But we got SGA, WGA strikes right now. Which means we might not get new content for the next year or 2.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, please keep watching Big Bang Theory again and listening to us, because we're your new content.
And on that note, I think that we need to mention our $100 gift card giveaway. Give us a 5-star review and you will be automatically entered into a drawing for a $100 gift card to Amazon. So don't forget to write your review, or if you've already written a review, shoot us an email of what your screen name is, because there's still 15 other reviewers out there that need to claim their spots. Because if you don't claim their spot, you're not going to be in the drawing, because we have no way to contact you.
Yeah, take that. I mean, no, contact us.
Yeah, take that. Well, leave us that review, be entered in for a chance to win a $100 gift card. Subscribe to us on YouTube, gingerly tap that like button, follow us on Instagram, and email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. We'll see you next time when we talk about the cushion saturation.
Sounds good.
This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Al Scroll, and our logo is by John Kim. Thanks for listening.
It's a shit nonetheless, but It came out smooth and clean.
There it is.